So clearly, it takes a bit of work to compromise even a single password. It's not impossible, but it's going to take a lot of work. And certainly, I would say it would be impossible if we were in a situation like um, like this, where we're having the computer force every password attempt to be something that takes a minimum of 1 second and lock down an account if the password is, if we have more than 3 tries, for example, of a password and we have a failure. So, what's a hacker to do? How can we get lots and lots of passwords? How come hackers keep seeming to be able to break into systems and also break into computer accounts of specific people? Well, let me tell you a few stories so that you can appreciate where the weak link lies. Okay? So, when I was at WPI as an undergrad, most of my friends worked for a company that you've probably never heard of called Digital Equipment Corporation. Digital Equipment Corporation was the cool company to work with back in the 80s. It was the Apple, the Google, the Facebook, the Twitter. It was just a really cool company to work for. And most of my uh, many of my friends did work for DEC. And so while while this company still existed and while my friends were working on it, we were having dinner one night, and my friends started talking about how Digital Equipment Corporation had just been hacked. And I said, well, what happened? And they said, well, what happened was that a couple of hackers went into the corporate building at Digital Corporation and went into the lobby, and they grabbed the directory of employees and brought the directory back to their little evil hacker lab. And then while they were in the evil hacker lab, they figured out what the user IDs were for many of the people in the company. So what were the user IDs? Well, first letter of your first name and then your last name. Okay, so that's going to take care of a lot of people. It's not going to be everyone, but it's going to take care of a lot of people. And then for the password, what they did is they got access to some online phone directories, and they matched the names of the people in the company with the names of people in the phone directory. And they looked for spouses. All right, so if your name was Tammy and you had a spouse named Bill, they would try the password Bill. All right. And if your name was Bob and your spouse was Becky, they would try the password Becky. And lo and behold, a significant number of accounts were compromised, including the accounts of managers who definitely should have known better. So in this situation, what we didn't have was 3 billion possible passwords for a manager at DEC. What we had was one likely password, which was the name of the spouse of that person. So this is a brilliant scheme to have this range, this domain of 3 billion possible passwords, but human beings have a rather nasty habit of getting in the way of well thought out security and corrupting it by doing something predictable, like picking a spouse's name as your password. So this pattern has repeated itself since the dawn of time, since there was passwords for computer accounts. Human beings don't like to remember random sequences of characters. And so what they try to do is remember some sequence of characters that hold some meaning for them. So here's an example of an analysis of an attack that was done just 11 short years ago for PHP-BB. So I've talked to you a little bit about PHP-BB. 5:43 p.m. Whoops. And I told you that that's the software, the open source software that runs the bulletin board that I use with my sailing buddies. And the software has a website. There's a website called phpbb.com that you can go to. And if you go to that website and log in, you can post to the PHPBB website with questions you have about running PHPBB. So it's like kind of a meta board about boards. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, the phpbb.com, that website got hacked. And I'll explain the idea of that hacking in a second. And in the process of the website getting hacked, all of the user IDs and passwords for the website were stolen from the website. And at that point, what happened is the information about those user IDs and passwords got out into the dark web. Creepy and unethical portions of the internet where hackers lurk. All right, and so some security researchers got a hold of the password file from PHPBB's website and did an analysis of the website to see, okay, like, you know, what kinds of passwords were used? What kind of passwords are people using? Because normally you couldn't just go up to a random person and say, hey, could you tell me what I'm doing research on passwords. Could you tell me what your password is? You're not going to get that information from somebody. So with this hacked file of user IDs and passwords, researchers were able to do an analysis. All right. So one of the observations is that 65% of the passwords matched a simple English dictionary password, and 94% of the passwords matched what's known as a hacker dictionary. So let's step back for a second and think about how stunning that is. Okay, so how big do you think? How many words do you think there are in the English dictionary? 10,000, 20,000? You know, if you were to pick the average educated adult and look at their vocabulary, they know incredibly about 20,000 different words. That would be sort of the high end of average, okay? So if you were to take a dictionary like the Oxford English Dictionary, that's about 100,000 words. All right, I just want you to take a look at this number, 3 billion, thousand, hundreds, thousands, millions. I'm sorry, I said 3 billion, 3 trillion, right? Hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions. I've been saying 3 billion, but it's 3 trillion. That's just incredible, right? So we've gone from if 94% of, well, let's say just regular dictionary words. So 65% of all the passwords that were in PHPBB with tens of thousands of users in that system, if 65% of those words came from the dictionary, then and we assume like, upper end about 100,000 words, we've now gone from 3 trillion possible passwords for each account to just 100,000 for each account. It doesn't take a lot of time for a computer to go through 100,000 possible passwords. Now, the article also mentions 94% hit for hacker dictionary. So a hacker dictionary is a special dictionary that includes not only common, words from the dictionary, but also common sequences of words and characters that you might find that have been found by doing password analysis of passwords from large systems that have been hacked, systems that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users and passwords. So you can find patterns in that. And the most common ones are added to these hacker dictionaries. So now you're talking about, I don't know, let's say there's a 500,000 words in a hacker dictionary, okay? So think about this, 3 trillion, very large number, 500,000, not so big of a number, okay? It's not going to take a computer very long on a concentrated attack with a poorly chosen password that would be found in a dictionary or hacker dictionary. It's not going to take long for a computer program to figure out what the heck that is, okay? If we were, let's just do a little bit of an analysis here, okay? Let's say we have 500,000 passwords to test, okay? And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna copy this so we just get this all. I'm gonna copy this down here. And we're gonna change that A5 to A20. And so we're talking about, this is how many this is how many years it's going to take at 1 second per password. All right, 0.01 years. So we're talking about 1/10 of a year, so maybe a month. Now this is a month with a 1 second delay between passwords, assuming that somehow the system wouldn't shut you out if you if you if you were in a situation, well, it just wouldn't shut you out if it kept allowing you to try passwords. Okay, that's scary. So we went from 90,000 years down to 1 month. And 94% of the users are using passwords like this. That is absolutely frightening. The other thing that's kind of frightening, well, actually, so let's just take a look at some of these, okay? I mean, this is ridiculous. 14% of the passwords are patterns from the keyboard, like 1, 2, 3, 4 or QWERTY. 4% of the variations are variations of the word password. Look, password with a 0, or drowsap, password spelled backwards. 5% of the passwords are pop culture references. And the list goes on and on and on. It's just ridiculous. Now, every year there's a list that's posted of the 50 worst passwords. So I did the 50 worst passwords from 2019. I don't know the exact provenance of all of the passwords that were used to generate this list. What security researchers do is when the dark web publishes a new password list for some site that's been hacked, the security researchers grab it before that list disappears. And then they add that to their compendium of hacked password lists. So here is, let's take a look at the top 10 passwords for 2019. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. QWERTY password, very nice. I love you. That's really sweet, but it's not a good password. ABC123. 123 123. A lot of ones. Okay, so these are all really horrible passwords to use. And what's horrifying is that so many people continue to use them, thinking that for some reason this use of this very common password, which is very easy to remember, is going to really help you help protect your accounts, which it's not. All right. Okay. Now, this is kind of a cool visualization that I found while I was Googling around. Informationisbeautiful.net. Okay, so these are the top 500 passwords. Again, gathered from a security researcher named Zetos, who has been compiling lists of passwords over the last many years, at least 10 years. And it's kind of cool. The 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 list over here shows uh, what sh shows the top 10 passwords, and they're organized by in different categories. So you can look at just the alphanumeric passwords. You can look at, let's say, nerdy. I kind of like nerdy ones. Sadly, I mean, I'm loving this Rush 2112, but um, not a great choice. Macho, lovely. Corvette, Mustang, killer. Oh boy, really cute ones. Oh, princess, purple, heaven. Animals. Dog is very popular. Where is dog here? I don't see it. Maybe you see it. I see donkey. I don't see dog. I know that dog was really popular for PHP BB. Food. What kind of deliciousness do we have here? Cookie. Good choice. Anyway, these are not good choices. Oh, I just realized the size. I was kind of curious about it. Like password strength. This is a good password because it has a combination of letters and digits, and it's somewhat unusual, but yet so predictable. Okay, so now I hope that has convinced you that you really want to pick an unusual passwords, right? You don't want to pick anything that might remotely be found in a dictionary, where your passwords uh, put the accounts that you're protecting with those passwords at risk.